Hey, Sam, question for you.
Yes.
8 consecutive playoff berths. Is that good?
Yes, it is. Man, 8 consecutive playoff berths, Andrew. That is very impressive, and I think that is a success in of its own. Um, I do think though, during the if we make the playoffs next year too, Andrew, that'd be 9 straight seasons. I think that would match the amount of time it took us to get out of the dark ages. So, if it gets to 9 seasons, which I think you and I both know probably will,
hmm
impressive.
Yeah, I mean, let's not put the cart before the horse here, but I mean,
Yeah.
you look at this team and this core, then yeah, they're built for sustained success, and they still have assets and cap space to get to even improve on this team
Yep.
next off season. So, I think the Ehlers pickup might have been all they needed, and now they can go into this offseason to make this team even better. But right now, playoffs are clinched, and let's go win a cup, man.
Yes, let's definitely win a cup because while making the playoffs is great, the ultimate prize is still not there yet for this team. They got to win it because we know this team. They can. I might have questions, but they can. Definitely win the cup. So, Andrew, let's get going right to business here. First things first, we have a great partnership with SeatGeek. You get $20 off your first purchase if you use promo code Caniac Reports, all one word. It's a great deal if you're trying to save money on some tickets, whether that's to a comedy show or a live concert or to a playoff Hurricanes game. Just putting that out there. And also remember, if you're watching this on YouTube, please hit that like button, hit that subscribe buttons, and hit that notification bell so you never miss another episode. And remember, if you're listening to us wherever you get your podcasts, please leave a rating and a review. That it really shows that really does help grow our show. So, Andrew, we're gonna be doing something differently, obviously, for this episode. The new stuff that we usually say in the episodes. We're going to throw that out because I feel like this episode is important to talk about the possible teams and the comparing of each other's teams of who the Hurricanes might face in the first round. Because, Andrew, as we both know, in these standings, we still don't know who they're going to play. There are so many teams that are up for contention.
Yeah, the tightest wild card race in quite some time in the Eastern Conference. A good 5, maybe even 6 teams that to varying degrees of likelihood, but the race is going to be tight at the end, and hopefully that serves Carolina's benefit because there's some matchups between those teams in the hunt. So hopefully they just wear each other out. Carolina can just keep working on their game, but let's get into who we might face.
Yeah, it's called Knowing Your Enemy segment.
Yes.
I like it like that. Okay. All righty. So the first team we're going to talk about is the Washington Capitals. Andrew, to me, this is one of those teams where, I mean, obviously, I think the Hurricanes can beat them, but it's just like, I don't want them to be in that position because we've seen them before, and we know Tom Wilson can be a pain.
Yeah, I mean, that's one of our biggest rivals, so I just like the idea of them not making the playoffs to begin with.
Yes.
But if there's a team that maybe could say that they not have the book on Carolina, but that Carolina can't do anything to surprise them, can't do anything to catch them off guard, it would be the Capitals. That's the one thing
Yes.
you do have to worry about there. But older team, and if they can go on a run, I would gladly have that be the first opponent compared to some of these other teams. But mathematically, I don't see it happening.
Yeah, I don't see it happening, but they're still in that race, so I kind of have to put them in that category.
hmm
Obviously, we know that their forward core is the strongest, but it's the goaltending and the defense. Mainly, I would say the goaltending, Andrew, for Washington, that we kind of really exposed in our last playoff series against them.
Oh, absolutely. I think the narrative from the national standpoint of that series was that the Capitals were just going to basically, meathead their way into a victory and ended up getting bounced in 5. So I think these Capital series I think that series hopefully is going to be a sign of the improvement this team has done, not just on the skill side of things, but on just kind of at that tight knit unit standing up for each other and being able to push back.
Yeah. And I mean, another thing too, I mean, I'll probably mention this quite a bit as we're talking about the teams here. Like, let's look at how these teams did in the offseason. Like Washington, I mean, we knew they were one of the finalists on Ehlers. We ultimately got them. So you can't really say that they improved. In fact, they kind of got weaker after that John Carlson trade, whereas Carolina, they improved from last year's playoff run.
Absolutely. I think Washington is a team that just, they have enough talent that they're being able to kind of stay, on the fringe of being in it, though I don't see it as very realistic. I think that that organization is very well aware that there's a rebuild coming. They can't full on do it if Ovechkin's still at the team. That would be disrespectful to him. You have to at least give him the opportunity to pull off not a miracle, but go on a run at the end. But I think after this season, you're going to see the Capitals start maybe not tearing it down, but at least trying to retool for the future. But that core group that they had for a long time, man, is going to be something that we're talking about when we're old. Just how awesome those Ovechkin teams were, even if they were awesome to hate.
Oh yeah, definitely. I wonder if this is going to be the last season for Ovechkin. I really wonder that.
Whatever he decides to do, I think he's earned that right. If he wants to go home and play in front of his friends and family back home in Russia, he's more than earned that right to leave whenever he wants. And we've hated him for years because he's on the Capitals, but truly a generational talent. And I'll be sad to see him go in a way.
Oh yeah, definitely. He's definitely one of the greatest. But again, as a Hurricanes fan, with the rivalry there, he's not one of my likable players.
No, it's a definitely nothing but love and respect. Best of luck in the future, whatever that means. Maybe let the door hit you on the way out.
Yes, exactly. Next team, Andrew, let's talk about, to me, out of all the teams, I think this is the team where if we face them in the playoffs, it'd be a little bit more beatable. I'm not saying these games are easy. It's playoffs. I'm not saying they are easy at all, but just comparing all these other teams to like Washington and others, I just think they'd be more beatable, and I think that is going to be Philadelphia. Because I look at Philadelphia, Mishkov, he's had a bit of a down season, Andrew.
Mm-hmm.
Not the best. I think the only thing, like, to me, there's just nothing on that team that's scary. Honestly, there just isn't.
I see what you're saying. It's interesting because I think if I could pick,
they're fast, but
they're very fast. And quite frankly, if there's any player in the NHL I could add to the Hurricanes, like systemically that I think would fit, it is Konechny. I think he plays a very heavy Rod Brind'Amour style game. But the one thing about Philly that would concern me is whenever a team gives me that 2019 vibe of a upstart young team that's putting it all together and gets hot at the end of the season, we're granted, the Canes aren't the defending champs, but I don't want to be the 2019 Capitals and get blindsided by this upstart team. So I think what Philly's doing is very impressive to stay in it. Again, I put them just a tad above how I see Washington in terms of I don't see it happening, but I think they're ahead of schedule in their rebuild.
Yeah, they are, and you can tell that they're kind of doing that. Like, I mean, there are some positives with Philadelphia. Like, they turned Trevor Zegras into something, Andrew, which I mean, I'm impressed with. Owen Tippett is one of their best scorers, and obviously, you already talked about Travis Konechny. He continues to be their best forward, and I would say probably their best defenseman is probably Travis Sanheim. That's it.
Yeah,
there's nothing threatening on that team.
Yeah, I remember Bobby Brink standing out to me when we played against them. But I think he did he get traded in the trade deadline? I forget. For some reason, I'm thinking that Brink might not be on the team anymore. But again, with Philly, I think that's a team that's just running on vibes. And the Zegers thing is interesting because the year prior, there was another trade between them and the Ducks that was much more lopsided going the other way, where they sent Cutter Gauthier to Anaheim, who is now lighting it up there. And then they're able to take Zegers and kind of, you don't want to say salvage about a guy who was once, literally a video game cover player, but just fits that system. And man, they just really did not like that coach for the Ducks. He sounded like he was just kind of a grump and didn't want to let the young athletic stars do their thing. And I think Zegers playing for Tocchet, it's just been a better fit all around.
It really has. But again, just out of all the teams, and also we'll see how Porter Mortone does, because he got signed by Philadelphia recently. But I can't see them being threatening at all to the Hurricanes. I'm not saying that they don't win. I'm not saying that. So no bulletins. But that's all I'm saying is I just think they're a little bit more beatable.
Yeah. So little peek behind the curtain. When we were discussing the episode, we were like, okay, one thing we're not going to do is pick who we want to play. And I think so far we've both already broken that. So we're off to a great start. But you know what? We're going to jinx. We're just going to jinx our way the rest of the way through. So we overpower it to win a cup. So you're welcome, everybody. And that's what gets clipped. And that's why I'm not invited back next season. So it's been fun.
We didn't jinx anything. I think we're fine. I hope. Okay. The next team is Detroit. Andrew, kind of like Philadelphia a little bit. They're a fast team. We really saw that in the games that we versed them in. And to me, they're that type of team where offensively, very, very good. It's just defensively. Now, here's the thing. Defensively, they're a lot better than the likes, I would say, of like Philadelphia. Like, you have Seider. He can be scary. You have Evanson. He can be a good shutdown defenseman. But, I mean, this team, I think they give this team minor headaches, but I think this is a team where we could win probably in maybe 4 or 5 games.
Yeah, I'd probably take that bet. Detroit's kind of falling apart at the end here, which for their fan base, I kind of hate it for them because them and Buffalo are kind of the two like long suffering franchise. Granted, Detroit's got all the history to look back on. Not that Buffalo doesn't have their fair share of good teams, but I mean, those Red Wing teams that even the ones that beat the Hurricanes, like those were insane rosters. But I'm a big fan of Dylan Larkin, and I think the Detroit's just they keep being one off season away from being good for like 5 seasons. So if they don't make it this year, it'll be interesting to see what happens from a front office standpoint, because Yzerman was already on the hot seat.
Yep. So. And he got Justin Falk. So you could say the team got better, but is it enough? Is it enough to get into the playoffs? That's their biggest thing. And if they were to face us, I do think ultimately we would win. And I think if Detroit fans see that Detroit lost in the first round, I think they'd have hope just because they finally made it back into the playoffs.
Yeah, there definitely comes a point in a playoff drought where you're just happy to be there. And
exactly, we were at that situation.
Oh yeah, that 2019 playoff run, that was playing with house money, and I mean, granted, they took it pretty far, all things considered. So you just got to get in, and then you never know. You could have a goalie come out of nowhere and get hot and take you all the way to the Stanley Cup. We've seen that in Carolina.
Yes, we definitely have. The next team, Andrew, this is the team that has very, very good offense. I would say they're a little bit more dangerous than Detroit. They're in the same division, but I would say they're a little bit more scary than Detroit because they do have a bit of snarky with Brady Tkachuk, and that's Ottawa. What do you think about them?
I think that would be an interesting matchup for Carolina. I think Carolina very clearly has the edge in depth, definitely defense, and you would want to say that Ullmark probably gets the edge in goaltending, but I mean, they've had trouble this year. Granted, I know that there was some off the ice stuff going on too, but the Kachuk factor, man. Say what you will about them, they're game changers come playoffs. So you got guys like Kachuk and Stutzla. I think Ottawa would be a very dangerous matchup. That though I do think Carolina wins that series, they can definitely exploit maybe a few of the weaknesses of this team with how they're built.
Oh yes, definitely. And another thing about Ottawa, I'm trying to think. Their defense. Well, I think Hurricanes' defense is better. They still have. Thomas Chabot and Jake Sanderson. So that's. That's again pretty good defense. I would say they'd be more suitable for a playoff series than the likes of Detroit. But ultimately, we'll see. The next team I want to talk about is the team that we're going to be talking a lot in this episode, and that is Columbus. Andrew, I would say out of all the teams, probably it's between them and another Metro team. But I think Columbus, it's their skill that scares me the most.
It's their skill, and it's the fact that Marchenko has just always been a cane killer. And you pair that with the fact that they have Charlie Coyle, who, looking back to those early Brendan Moore playoff runs, those matches,
yes.
Those matchups against the Bruins, Coyle was excellent in those. So they definitely have a couple of guys who have a history against Carolina. But these last two games, man, I think that they got kind of exposed as though up and coming, though I think their fans have something very solid to be excited about moving forward. I feel like they're just not there yet. I think that they are riding on that new coach high, which shout out to Bonus for what he's been able to do there. I think Zach Werenski might be the most fun to watch defenseman in the NHL. Not the best, but the most fun to watch. But that's a series that I hate to have my opinion changed in 3 days, but I've gone from being kind of worried about this team because of Marchenko and Coyle to almost I think that's a 6-game series at best.
Yeah, I do too. And to me, the biggest flaw I see with Columbus, Andrew, because again, we faced them a lot. We faced them twice already this week. It's their defense, and also Merzlikins is, I think, their weakness. Greaves, I think, is better than Merzlikins, and I think if Columbus was smart, they would start Greaves twice a day over Merzlikins. I think it's probably going to be around 5 games, but I do think Carolina overall is the better team.
Yeah, and I think that became pretty apparent in the last 72 hours. Both of Carolina's goalies were up to the task. Shout out to Greaves for that good per performance, but I just think the way Carolina wants to play, how it's just going to be wave after wave of just aggressive forward checking, and every single line's got a little bit of a scoring touch. I just think it's too overwhelming for that team. Though I do think, from where Columbus was when Don Waddell took over as GM, I think that he's done a really good job setting them up for future success.
Oh, yeah, I think he has too. The next team, Andrew, is another Metro team who we have beaten constantly in the playoffs, and that is the Islanders. And this is a team that, honestly, you can tell from the last time we've played against them, they've changed a little bit. They've gotten a little bit more youthful, a little bit more of an offensive punch. I do think it would not be an easy series, but again, I think Carolina will be better because regardless, Schaefer and a couple of other rookies, I think Holmstrom, he might be in the NHL for a while, but they have a couple of good players, and obviously they're led by Matthew Barzal. Andrew, what do you think?
I think just behind New Jersey, Carolina just owns the Islanders. I'm more than confident taking that take. I'll take the Islanders.
Yeah, I am too.
Single time. I think that they're building something that will become more dangerous because we've talked about this recently about how I always felt like the Islanders were just a less well executed version of the Hurricanes in that they were defensive minded, defensive structured, but whereas Carolina has really made a knack out of, using their defensemen to be aggressive and get back on the rush. It just felt like the Islanders have never had that speed to really do the second half of that equation. But you add in guys like Schaefer, and that is going to change. So the Islanders are on the rise, but I'm maybe it's cockiness based on going. I want to say a collective 12-3 in playoff series against them, but the Islanders don't scare me. Not yet. Their future does. Not yet.
Yeah, not yet. The last team, because we got to get 2 games here, is Pittsburgh. And this is the team, Andrew. Pittsburgh, I would say of all of them, Pittsburgh and Columbus are the teams I'm kind of worried the most. Now, here's the thing. Pittsburgh, do they have the chance to fall to the wild card? Yes, which is, again, why I put them there. But I do think the most likely scenario is we verse them in round 2. And I think if we do verse them in round 2, listen, Pittsburgh, they have Crosby and Malkin. You cannot doubt how great they are. But it's a team Carolina needs to be careful of. But again, I think just on paper, Carolina is better. But you just cannot. I could see this going to 7 games, though.
Yeah, you could see it going to 7 just because of the clutch gene that Crosby and Malkin both have. And in the recent games that they've played against them, Stuart Skinner just seems to have completely had his career turned around by coming to Pittsburgh. McDavid has to be punching air every time he sees a Pittsburgh game. But I welcome that second round matchup, not in a cocky way, but in that 2009 run was very for whatever reason that one really sticks with me just because of all the like crazy clutch goals. I became a diehard UC Jokinen fan because of that.
Yes,
and the way that ended with them just absolutely spanking the Hurricanes. In particular, I have just it's burned in my head. It was a Malkin goal where he backhands it from the other side of the face-off circle and just paints the near corner. Like that was really the start, I feel like, of that insane run that core group of Penguins players had. And with them kind of coming down the stretch here on just an amazing run of hockey for that team, I would love a chance at a little bit of revenge.
Oh, yeah, I definitely would too. It's definitely, I think, going to be round 2 type of matchup. But you just never know with the last bit of games remaining here on the schedule. So that's – go ahead.
I was just going to say one thing, looking at the standings and how this could work out. If we could get Detroit first round, Pittsburgh second round, that would be a great way to just exercise some of this franchise's demons. Just get revenge for 01 and 09 on the way to the Eastern Conference. I would love that. I would love that.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, that would definitely be something. Well, let's get to recapping both Columbus games, Andrew. But before we do, let's get to a sponsor. DraftKings Sportsbook, an official sports betting partner of the NHL, is built for the fastest game on ice. With player props and live betting, every shift, every shot, every save gives you options to get in on the game with DraftKings Sportsbook. New customers, bet just $5, and if your bet wins, you'll get $300 in bonus bets instantly. Download the DraftKings Sportsbook app and use code THPN. That's code THPN to turn $5 into $300 in bonus bets if your bet wins. In partnership with DraftKings, the crown is yours. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. In New York, call 8778-HOPE-NY or text HOPE-NY. Connecticut, call 888-789-7777 or visit ccpg.org. On behalf of Boot Hill Casino in Kansas, wager tax pass-through may apply in Illinois. 21 plus in most states. Void in Ontario. Restrictions apply. Bet must win to receive bonus bets which expire in 7 days. Minimum odds required. For additional terms and responsible gaming resources, see dkng.co/audio. Limited time offer. Copyright 2026. NHL. All rights reserved. Okay, Real quick, I gotta give a shout out to someone because he praised the podcast. Just give me a shout out to Parker from Campbell Law School. Uh, I have a connection there, Andrew, and he said great things about the Caniac report. So I just want to give him a shout out just for saying that.
Thank you, Parker. I appreciate the kind words, man.
Yep. Okay. So the first game, the game at Columbus, Andrew. I think the biggest thing, I mean, obviously the power play continues to be lethal, like goodness gracious. But the biggest thing is the person that started in net. And that was Brandon Bussey. And Andrew, my gosh, he looked like pre-Olympic break Bussey. He was just spectacular.
Yep, dialed in and calm, and that's something that I think when we got back from the Olympic break, he just seemed a little bit unsure of himself after one bad game. But he was coming off of just such an incredible run before the Olympic break that maybe he was even doubting himself a little bit, the way that I think all of us were, that maybe that was a fluke. But I don't think it's enough to change that. I think Freddie has taken back the game one starter role, but I definitely have that confidence in Bussey that I had a month ago, that he is capable, even if he just has to come in for a game here and there, that he's ready to help this team win.
Oh, yes, definitely. So the first goal, Andrew, again, lots of power play goals for this team. Shane Gostisbehere, he opens the scoring from Ehlers and Svetch. And my gosh, again, if I were to do a power rankings of the players on this team, to me, number one's Ehlers, number two's Ghost, and they just connected on a wonderful play. Like, it was just beautiful, Andrew.
Yeah, the vision of Ehlers, because it was not a broken play necessarily because it's on the power play, but Jarvis gets it back to Ehlers and he's able to send it across to Ghost, who, for as much of a kind of a scramble play as that was, as quick as the puck got to Ghost, good on him for being ready to shoot.
Oh, yes, definitely. And with how good the power play is, I mean, we got to see Jankowski. I mean, this wasn't the first time, obviously, but Jankowski be on the power play, Andrew, who knew? What a great pass to Stankoven for the second goal.
Yeah, and again, same thing with Stankoven, just being ready to shoot at any moment, because he finds himself in the slot wide open, and like you said, Jankowski quietly having just a really great season, man. It was a bit of a debate who was going to be the 4C coming into the season, whether they needed to go out and get somebody. He has absolutely claimed that role, and
yes, he has.
Kudos to him for taking advantage of the power play time, because maybe not something he assumed he was going to get to start the year.
I know. Who knew Jankowski would be on the power play, and who knew Stahl being on the first power play would help. But I mean, I see the idea though. I mean, a guy like Stahl, he's very, very big. Like, you mainly want him in one position, and that is right in front of the goalie, and he certainly has. He's made the power play better. Again, who knew?
Yeah, it sounds so obvious when you say it that way, but until you see proof of concept sometimes, right, man? But yeah, just Stahl and Jankowski, they can both provide kind of a similar role. Both bigger guys, both not afraid to mix it up in the crease, and underrated vision for their passing. So the power play, I don't think I've been this confident into it at this point in the season in the entire Brendan Moore era.
I know it's been just a killer lately, and I mean the thing with like adding Stahl, Jankowski to the power play, like, I'm not trying to diminish like the star players like Aho, Jarvis, or Svetch, but you can tell the way Brendan Moore wants to implement with his system. It is purely embodied in those players, the players of Stahl and Martinook, Carrier, Jankowski, those type of players. I mean, you can tell it, like, whenever those type of players enter into this team, they just excel.
Yeah, and you need those kind of character guys. Hockey's a sport where just having the best player is not good enough. I mean, with all due respect to McDavid and Draisaitl, somehow those two don't have a cup, and it's because that supporting group, including the goaltending, hasn't been up to snuff. So, um, the question of how good the top six is going to be in the playoffs is the big question. But in terms of what we're going to get from the bottom six of this team, it's going to be consistent. It's going to be effort. It's going to create momentum, and that starts with Stahl and Jankowski just leading their lines, playing, just doing all the little things right, not giving the other team an inch to breathe hockey.
Yes, definitely. Now, there was a little bit of concern because you did have Marchinsko and Fratelli scoring because it's like, oh no. Oh no.
Mm-hmm.
But also the thing is, I don't blame those goals on Bussy at all. And he already showed just how many great saves he already had up to that point in the game.
Yeah, I think both those goals were just, you kind of got to tip the cap to Columbus there. They've got some real talent.
Yep.
Maybe they could have been defended better, but I don't think it's really worth nitpicking. You're not going to get a shutout at every game. It's just not possible. Even the great
No.
ones didn't do it. But a very welcome return to form from Bussy, and now it's just a matter of these last probably 3 starts he has. Just keep building that confidence, because even if you're not the game one starter, we're gonna need you, man.
Yes, definitely. But obviously you have Ehlers doing Ehlers like thing. He's like a magician on the ice. He scores from a great shot out just at the perimeter of the offensive zone. You have Ehlers again just doing great things, passing it to Svetch for the power play goal. And another thing too, again, the Canes are playing great. They really are. It's just, to me, I just find this funny. And the fact that when Columbus pulled their goalie, you have Jarvis heading into the offensive zone. He has an open net. He doesn't score. And then you have Martinook all the way from the defensive zone scoring.
Naturally, right?
Naturally.
Well, Aho and Jarvis, they're just snake bitten right now, man. And sometimes that happens in any sport, really, but
Yep.
in a sport where there's just so many weird, uncontrollable factors, and where luck does inevitably play a role in everything that goes right for you, at least a little bit in hockey. I think it's important right now for Aho, Jarvis, and Svetch accordingly, because even though he's been lighting it up on the power play still, I think they're doing a lot of things right, man. And I think if they keep sticking to their game, it's going to start going from them, and hopefully the floodgates open just in time for the playoffs.
Yeah, that's mainly what I'm hoping, is just for them to be playoff ready at this point. So Hurricanes ultimately enter. They win 5-2, and now the game here at home. I do. Again, I do want to talk a little bit more about that Aho line. I thought that they played a lot better here than they did away. I thought they kind of created a little bit more chances, even though the shots weren't ridiculously in our favor. I mean, we only had 22 shots this home game, but I thought this was a game that they could build on. That line could.
Yeah, I'd have to agree. Aho with the 2 assists, Svetch gets another power play goal. There's a lot of reasons for them to be feeling good about the way that they're playing. They're almost kind of in a similar situation to what the Stankoven line was like, say, five games ago, where you look great, you're doing everything right, you just got to keep at it, and if you can finesse your shots a half inch to get past the goalie, you're going to get rewarded for it. And as we saw in this most recent game against Columbus, that first period, the way that they played, that's not really that out of character for this team. They do that all the time. It's just a matter of, can they actually capitalize on those chances? And I know that's something you and I have talked about quite a bit, really all season, is that, people ask, or people always talk about whether it's the structure, whether it's this and that. And it sounds like such a oversimplification way to say what this team needs to do better. They just got to shoot better. It really is that simple.
Yep, exactly. But like what you mentioned with the Stankoven line, I mean, they're starting to get the goals now. Stankoven to me, I thought the best player in this game was Logan Stankoven. He played like a true second line center. Honestly, the whole line was playing great. But the reason why Stankoven to me gets like the first start of this game, he had 2 great goals, and that line was just unrelentless.
Yeah, that line, you don't always appreciate a storyline as it's happening. But now that we're kind of getting to the end of the regular season, we know what this team's going to be, everybody's roles and how everybody's connected. Taylor Hall must be having the time of his life, man, because he's got 2 kids who probably looked up to him when they were coming up, and he's getting to play on a second line on a cup contending team after being kind of bounced around a bit there. And they're just so fun to watch. And it's crazy to think that Blake and Stankoven, both 22 years old, both under contract for the next 8 years. And I think they have both shown at different times potential to be like bona fide first line players. But we got the first line locked up for that long too, basically.
Yes, we do. So Stankoven, he gets the first 2 goals, great goals. From him. The first goal obviously was a tip. Second goal was more of a shot, and the Kishin goal, that was a shorthanded goal, Andrew. And what a great play that was. Ghost just coming out right out of the box, passes it to Aho, passes it to. Wait, no, that's a different goal, right?
That's a good problem to have. You're getting your goals mixed up.
I am getting my goals mixed up.
There were just so many.
Yeah, that was the Svetch goal. I'm just now remembering that. But the Kishin goal was great too. Like, what a snipe that was.
Yeah, he's really starting to put it all together, man. And I was just double checking the box score to make sure that I had this right. The last game we talked about him scoring, I had to point out that he had 4 shots on goal, but no hits and no blocks. 3 hits tonight, but only 1 shot. So I do want to see him a little more shot ready. I think if he has even a remotely clear look at the net, I don't care if it's shorthanded. I don't care what the situation is. You put that thing on, that shot is that big of a weapon. But the rest of his game is rounding out. It's just a matter if, if come playoff time, if that improvement he has shown on the defensive end holds up. It's the only question I still have. But man, even if it's not this season, where he puts it all together, the sky's the limit for this kid, man.
Oh yeah, and his skating has improved, which it just shows, Andrew, that if his skating's improved, then you know that he's adjusting to the league. He is willing to learn, and that gives us fans hope that we might see him shooting a lot more, because again, he's taking it one step at a time.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and maybe kind of a cheesy thing to point out, but go watch highlights from the start of the season to now. Just looks happier, looks like a happier person, more comfortable. It's not just learning a new league, it's learning a whole, different hemisphere. And he's not like some of these other guys. Like, if I'm not mistaken, Svetch played in the juniors up in Canada when he was a kid. So he had a little bit of North America experience, if I remember that correctly.
He did.
If I'm wrong. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So it's a whole nother animal when you come here like that. And especially when you're a star in the KHL, I bet, the money's nice, but I bet they do wonder if maybe it's not worth it. So
yeah,
on a human level, I'm just happy for the kid that he seems to be loving his time in Raleigh.
Yes, definitely. And we know in this game, obviously Matej Tkachuk, he scored. And I mean, obviously that might be a goal you want Anderson to have. It was Fightful, but obviously we need to talk about goaltending every game, Andrew, because goaltending is a little bit more of an enigma than other parts of this team. And Anderson, I don't think this is the best game to show that he was like really, really good, because he only got to see 10 shots in this game. I thought he was solid, but it's just, to me, it wasn't a good radar to show how good he's been.
For sure. With the one goal he gave up, I was a little surprised. So on the broadcast, I know you were at the game,
Yes.
but that was one of the more critical analysis that Trip Tracy's done on a goal in a long time. He was saying like, Freddie's got to have that can't go in, and like I see what he's saying. You keep your pads together, you keep your stick low. Then a puck just kind of sliding on the ice like that shouldn't go in. But when it's such just kind of a chaos play in front, that's going to happen if that's the only thing you let in. You have to take that. And I thought that even though he wasn't challenged a lot, something that I think does happen to every goalie that's been here under Rod's system is when you have these games where the forecheck is keeping the puck on the other end of the ice for so long, it's easy to kind of get stuck back in, little league, the building sandcastles in the outfield. The next thing you know, you got a grade A shot coming your way. And I think Freddie was up to that task.
Yeah, it's interesting, like because with Anderson, we know the biggest thing is him like staying healthy and all, but it seems like when you're out there on the ice playing as the goalie for the Hurricanes, it seems to be more of a mental challenge in the fact that, hey, I don't have to stop as many shots as I would be on other teams, but I still need to be ready. Like you would have to think that mentally that'd be a little bit more of a challenge, you know?
Oh, definitely. I think there's a lot of people in, any field of work that if there's not some type of consistency or groove to what they're doing, their performance is going to suffer. The tricky
Mm-hmm.
thing is how do you realistically combat that? You can't just be like, oh
Yep.
well, we got to let them get pucks on net, because that's obviously just a bad defense and or at best playing with fire. But I think that Freddie tonight, he had like 3 or 4 just 5-star saves in my opinion. And those are saves that say he doesn't get those, then maybe that little bit of doubt starts to creep in, whether it's with him, whether it's the guys in front of him. So even though they weren't as many as in other games, I think that the quality of the saves is what's really important.
Yes, I completely agree. And again, there's only so much credit I can give to a goalie like Anderson when they only stop 9 shots.
Mm-hmm.
There's only so much. But aside from goaltending, again, talked about the stink oven line. They were fantastic. Nikishin, great shorthanded goal. And obviously, like you have Matejchuk, and you do wonder as a Canes fan, because this happened a lot this season about those 3 goal leads. You just wonder in the back of your mind. But you have Jordan Martinook just willfully shooting at Merzlikins and it somehow finds the back of the net. I felt like at that point, Andrew, like I was like, okay, I can't see Columbus coming back from this. And plus, like, I mean, I know we talked about this right before we recorded, but to me, it was only those first 2 minutes in that second period where Columbus actually gave a fight, and that was it. I was just surprised, especially with the way Zach Werenski talked about with
Mm-hmm.
the Aho incident. You know?
I almost brought that up in my post game tweet just about how the Werenski coming out and saying that, and then I don't know if you were on Twitter at all, but like a lot of the Columbus pages were trying to make Jackson Blake out to be a goon, like he manhandled one of their players trying to hurt him. So if that's the energy they left that first game with, and you come out and you put up 10 shots on goal. No, that's I think Columbus got exposed in these 2 games. I really do, and I'm not trying to disrespect the talent on that team. Certainly not the coaching job that Bonus has done, and certainly not our guy Don Waddell, who I'm genuinely cheering for. But this was their chance to say, no, we're for real, and we're going to be there in the first round, and we're going to beat you guys. And I left the last 72 hours going from being concerned because of, like we talked about, the Marchenkos and the Coils and their history against Carolina, to now I'm kind of saying I think that might be a 5-game series.
Oh yeah, it definitely really could. But again, I'm not like if I was playing like a poker game of which team to face, I'd be like, I'm I'm folding because I don't want to be a part of that.
Oh, for sure. I mean, I'm a very superstitious sports fan. Not like really. I think it's just kind of a fun thing that
Oh
can,
yeah.
it adds a fun element. I'm not worried about the guys taking anybody in the playoffs lightly. I think they've made that mistakes a few times in the regular season. You don't want to say can you really blame them, because every year it seems like the parity in the league gets better and better, where even like the bottom feeders in the league will occasionally beat the top teams.
They will.
And it's not even that big of a surprise. It just happens. There's that many good players in the league. But I think Columbus they do a lot of things similar to Carolina. I think they try to be a little bit more physical, where Carolina tries to be more structurally sound. But I don't think the Blue Jackets are there yet, man. A lot to be excited about. I don't think they're there yet. Bring it on.
Yeah, I don't think they're there that yet either. But I do want to get back to the Slewfoot thing, the whole comment. Like, I mean, I saw the replay. I do think it was a bit of a Slewfoot from Aho. I do.
Yeah.
But coming from a guy like Aho, who is not known, he is not known to be physical at all. Andrew, you and I know he's not known for his physical game. But, and this is no way me promoting that type of play. No way. No. But I like seeing Aho get physical. I just do. Again, not promoting slew footing here. But at the same time, I just like seeing Aho get physical, because you're going to need that in the playoffs.
Right. And if we're going to call it a slew foot by a technicality, yes, it was. He brought his skate in trying to, close out on the guy. But when I think of a slew foot, you think of some of the more dirty plays that you see on, like, a compilation on YouTube about like longest suspensions ever. It wasn't that. It just wasn't. So I thought to throw that word around out there, I don't like people talking about our guy like that. It's so funny how Aho, he's been with this team for so long, and I know for a fact that he's a guy in his late 20s. He has a kid, and you could definitely kick my ass, but I still see him as that 18-year-old just kid that made the team. Yeah. Was just so happy to be there. He still just has that a thing going on. Just he's really just embedded in my heart as a Caniac. So. Keep our future captain's name out of your mouth, sir.
Yes, please. And thank you. So one more thing I think I wanted to talk about. I mean, is there anything else you want to take away from this game? Obviously, Svetch scored the power play, so power play keeps up and running. It's one of the longest I think I saw, because I can see the TVs up from where I'm sitting. I think I saw that the broadcasting posted a stat of like the longest playoff, power play streaks. And I think we were at 8 games, which is tied for the second longest. That's impressive.
Yeah. Again, it's that coveted power play coach. They're going to tell us who it is eventually. There's no other solution, guys. Brendan Moore doesn't know what he's doing. That long successful career he had, he doesn't know anything about scoring goals with the man advantage. But I think they're just playing with confidence. They're not passing up on shots, and Ehlers just seems to have been the missing ingredient this whole time.
I know.
There is one thing I wanted to say from a league standpoint, because we didn't do the league news. We were talking about the standings, only because we had to address it in a prior episode. Did you watch that Maple Leafs Ducks game, the first one since the Gudas Matthews incident?
No, I did not.
So I stand by everything I said about Gudas. I think I explained my take on it better, that I wasn't calling for anything violent or dirty, but at a certain point, it is what it is. But to quote maybe my favorite fictional hockey player, Doug the Thug Glatt, when you deserve a beating, you take it. And I give Gudas credit as a man for owning his mistake enough to play through a hockey game injured, to basically pay his dues, because he got into a fight with Domi, didn't throw a punch, just took it. And there was something about that I really respected. Doesn't take away from how just Bush League that move on Matthews was. I think the league is better off without guys like that in it, but can't have a hot take like I had and not at least acknowledge that he earned a little bit of respect back from me by doing that. Not much, but
Yeah.
worth mentioning.
Yeah. I didn't know about the fight, but I knew about the injury that he just came back out. So I think Elliot Friedman mentioned that. So yeah. Know what, that just knowing that, I will admit I gained a little bit of respect for Radko Gudas. But yeah, 2 great wins, Andrew. And actually, you know what? One more thing, and then we'll wrap it up. But I want to go back to the teams that we talked about earlier. If you could rank them from which team you would want the most to the team you'd want the least, it'd be fun. I'm not trying to jinx anything, but if you could rank them.
So maybe not to rank all 6 of them because I'm going to get confused. Let's pick our favorite we want to face and least favorite. I would love to fit in terms of them winning. I think the Islanders, I think they have their number. I think they have the confidence against that team. I think the matchup, I'll take the Islanders. The team I don't want to play, believe it or not, man, I'm going to say Philly just because of that. Coming into the playoffs hot, nothing to lose. Maybe they pull off a game 1 victory. Maybe that gets the Canes thinking about all the noise. It gets all the talking heads started. So I'm actually going to say Philly, man.
Really?
Yep.
Wow. Because out of all the teams that I'd want to verse, it'd be Philly. The team that I would not want to verse is Pittsburgh.
Really?
Yeah.
Because I think we kind of have their number. I think that they'll make a series out of it because you can't have guys on like that on that team and not expect them to at least contribute. But I think that team is just too old to keep up with the Canes for a 7-game series. Whereas Philly, I just think maybe Ottawa should have been my answer just because the physicality that they can bring. But I just. A matchup against Philly just gives me 2019's Caps Canes vibes, but reversed. It just does. An upstart team like that with nothing to lose is so dangerous. True.
You can say the same for Detroit.
To an extent, I think Detroit is if they miss the playoffs, they're going to be disappointed in themselves because they were playing great up until recently, whereas Philly's doing the opposite. Philly. If you had told me 2 weeks ago or even having a conversation about them, I wouldn't believe you. But here we are, and that's why it worries me because that's what the Canes did in 2019, where they went from being a bottom feeder team, figured it all out, and next thing you know, you got Warren Fogle scoring a Game 7 winner, or no, Brock McGinn. Sorry,
McGinn.
Yeah. Both those guys who I just loved and hate that they didn't have more success after they left. Fogle had more than McGinn, which surprised me because I thought he was just such a perfect bottom 6 Rod Brind'Amour player.
Oh yeah, he definitely was. He's in LA now, I believe. But we'll see how his career does. So that is it for this episode, and we will see you guys next time.